Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on, Thursday the 13th of June. This week's flying past. So, here we go, euro dollar first, and well, from this daily point of view, you can see solid sell-off yesterday, bearish engulfing, but it's not even now quite hit the weekly pivot there, which I've been looking for it to do all week. It almost doesn't want to. If we see a break of this weekly pivot, this 4 hourly 50, I would expect further downside. There's a bit of space below before we then find further support, but it is bearing in mind where it's got a whole bundle of moving averages to find support into, each one taking their turn, so it could be a slow move down. Looking at the current bar here, daily pivot just short of being hit, maybe hit on some brokerages. This may be fractionally out on here. So let's say bearish looking bar. What would make me really be wanting to get into this? Well, maybe a break of these lows here. I'm afraid it's a waiting game if that's going to happen. Target's not looking particularly healthy. Yesterday I didn't really want to touch it at all, and I didn't, and it sort of moved up. Eventually it moved a lot further, but it's a slow old market at the moment on the euro, and probably best swung, as opposed to if you were short thinking maybe now's nearer the term for shorting it. The pound dollar, well, the pound it's held up remarkably well, bearing in mind it survived the no vote to a no deal Brexit. So in other words, they can't rule that off the table. Now, what's it looking for in the short term with an indecision there? It's looking soft, and we could see a further rollover, and that's probably what I'll be looking for this morning, selling into retracements. Has got a daily pivot above, but I really like to be on the short side. Doesn't always work out on this, but I'd rather be back on the short side on this at some point, and it's just a matter of waiting, and it may be just a shorter time frame. It's already broken the sort of the double bottom here, maybe. We'll see. It may come back down again, but to me it's bearish, got further downside potential. Coming back to that 4 hourly, which is my favourite time here, you can almost see a little head and shoulders kicking in there. So there we go for those pattern lovers. Right, that's the pound, so looking bearish, as is the euro really, but I think you may get a bit more mileage on the pound if we get a decent retrace to sell into. Dollar yen, well, consolidation continues. Bit of worry at one point yesterday, and it's looking like it's actually benefiting a little bit at the moment, and it's sort of the risk off, particularly with the equity markets also coming off a bit more overnight there. Looking at where we are at the moment, it does look like, well, it could just carry on in this downward shape that it's throwing there. It's certainly this morning through the early Asian session sold off quite strongly, finally getting back to its weekly pivot. Something has, that's good. Looked like it already broken this trend. Yesterday it did toughen up, but well, we'll see. I still, I mean, if it's going to be risk back off, well, then the yen is a beneficiary of that. So would be looking maybe for the downside there, or the pairs involving on it. So something like the pound yen may be half decent if you're getting a decent spread on it. Okay, Aussie dollar. Just have a look at the Aussie dollar briefly, but it's continuing that sell-off, no massive surprise there. A bit more solid in a sense, the sell-off than some of the other pairs. The European pairs holding up a little bit better, but the euro yen really looking like it's euro yen, the Aussie dollar even still looking like it's probably got some further downside there, but it's not something I could trade for there for today anyway, intraday wise, unless it retraced. It's already done a big old move there overnight. It's already at Asian session, and the Canadian dollar's probably not too much of an exception either. Say C. Okay, so this is one of the sort of stronger pairs against the US dollar in fundamentally, and well, it's still got some scope maybe for a bit of a rollover, although it's put high lows, higher highs, and in the short term may just want to get back to that weekly pivot. Where would it be attractive from? Maybe coming back to this 4-hourly and simple trend line. If I could draw a simple trend line, would be great. But that trend line across the lows there, if it's sort of something like that, would probably give us a bit more confirmation. I know it's quite straightforward, but before we get to that, it's got a bunch of moving averages. I'd rather it be through that, and then it may be more for a swingish short over a day or so, maybe. Okay, that's the Canadian dollar, and I was going to just put the New Zealand dollar on there to show you that's selling off as well. There you go, that's selling off as well. And finally the S&Ps. Well, the S&Ps, they're struggling a little here. Bull flag maybe on the 4-hourly. Let's just come out and look at the dailies. It's a very small day yesterday. It's as soon as we start looking at trading this in our trading room on a daily basis, all of a sudden, look, it's gone down to silly consolidated moves. However, don't be shocked. There are decent moves within those little bars. That said, we're in a sort of bull flag at the moment on this 4-hourly picture. Now, well, if it carries on rolling, well, then that flag disappears and it becomes just another down wave confirmed. Just looking for further lower highs, lower lows on it, and it's, well, it managed to do that through the Asian session there, just pitching up at 2 o'clock yesterday and a little bit since, but really looks like it's got the potential for further downside. Weekly pivot may be a bit more unlikely at the moment, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of joy there. Okay, so in the main it looks like it's a move to safety maybe that we're seeing across these markets at this moment. So I should be trading accordingly. Have a great day. Oh, I should have mentioned what's coming out in the news today. Okay, so we've got lots of very low quality data coming out, and which has been coming out through this morning. Bigger things today. Well, there's the Swiss National Bank monetary policy. If you're trading the Swissy, beware. And press conference at 8:30 and 9 o'clock respectively. Aside of that, it's all really low key data that's coming out in our session here. We've had the employment data from the Australian dollar there. Mixed numbers there, some good and bad, but in general, yeah, very low key data today, so it may be just down to the technicals. Have a great one. Bye for now.